Hey guys, welcome back to NY Sports MC. Before we get into it, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to get all my videos, as well as thumbs up on the videos that you do like, and please make sure to comment below as I love to interact with you guys. Wanted to come today with the recap of the draft. I'm going to give out my draft grade for Joe Douglas and the Jets in their first year in charge of the draft. So let's start. You guys could have seen all my recap videos and my reactions right after these picks happened, but we're going to go through and give a little bit on each pick again as well. At round number one, pick 11, the Jets secure their left tackle of the future that we hope will be the left tackle for the next decade or so, our next to Brickashaw Ferguson, and Mekhi Becton, tackle from Louisville. I know a lot of people are saying that they wanted Tristan Wirfs and that with Wirfs on the board, this might not have been the best pick. But I tell you what, we needed a left tackle, and I said this in my video. Wirfs can very easily be bumped inside to guard. He can make it as a left tackle potentially. Some people think he may have that chance, but there's more of an opportunity that he ends up going to guard or right tackle than playing that left tackle. Becton played left tackle at Louisville. We know he can play that position. That's what we needed. Take the more of a sure bet when it comes to left tackle. I think Becton was a great pick at number 11. He does have the biggest upside out of any of these tackles that were drafted. With his size and athletic ability, of course he has an upside. He is probably on the rawer side than some of these other guys, which gives him the biggest bust potential. So that is a little bit of a risk. But hey, when Wills and Thomas are gone, you can't pick those guys. And I just mentioned why I would go Becton over Wirfs. It's worth the risk because he's more of a left tackle, which is the need that we had. So I think Becton was a right pick there at 11. So now we go down to round two. We actually traded back to accumulate some more picks and still end up with Denzel Mims, wide receiver from Baylor. Big bodied, athletic wide receiver. A lot of people were upset that we traded down because Mims was on the board at 48 and we wanted to select him there. But hey, in Joe Douglas, we believe, right? He trades back, accumulates more picks, and still gets the wide receiver everybody wanted him to take before he traded back. So great value here. Again, this is kind of a theme on a lot of the picks. It's a high reward and maybe not as much of a high risk than like Becton or some of these other guys will be. But there's definitely some risk with Mims that he still needs to polish out his game. Because when you make that transition from college to the NFL, your athletic abilities alone will not get you by. So he has to get a little bit crisper with the route running. I don't even want to mention really the drops because he did play with, I heard it was either a broken hand or severely injured hand throughout most of the season. And obviously that's going to affect his ability to really squeeze on the ball and bring those contested catches in. So I won't get on him about that, but that is going to be something I'm going to watch because it should be healed up by now, and there's going to be no excuses coming into this year. You have to catch the ball. If it hits your hands, you got to bring it in. Especially if we envision this guy being our number one. Got to be reliable. Got to be dependable. Heard great things from Mims. I was just listening to him talk with Janae Coakley, and he said how Janae asked him about the times that we're in right now and how he can't actually go and meet with Darnold and the rest of the team. And he's like, well, we've already spoken on the phone, and I'm going to be calling him all the time, and my goal is to make him my best friend. You love to hear that. You love to hear that he's kind of initiating it as well and saying, hey, look, I'm not going to let these times affect me. I'm still going to build my rapport with my quarterback. So you love to hear that. I got high expectations for Denzel Mims at pick number 59. So now you're dropping in the third round. We had two picks here. First one up, the Leonard Williams pick number 68 that we got with trading obviously Leonard Williams to the Giants. We went with a little bit of a surprise pick for me. I wasn't scouting any of the safeties as we have Marcus May and Jamal Adams, and I really wasn't planning on us trading Jamal. So Ashtyn Davis, safety out of Cal, was a little bit of a surprise. I know I heard from some other YouTubers that he was talented. I know like the Entertainer had talked about him at one point as the Giants were looking at safeties. The more I looked at him, the more I was like, this has got Greg Williams' fingerprints all over it. I could see him really wanting this guy. because he's so versatile. He's a great cover guy. He can also come up and make the hits. He can play safety. He can play that slot corner, nickel corner, dime corner. And the NFL now is moving to a lot of 3 safety sets where there's adding that extra safety under the field to just kind of keep up with the prolific passing offenses around the league. So I think adding him to Jamal and May, you can see a lot of packages with all 3 of these guys on the field, as both May, actually all 3 of them, Adams, May, and Davis can all cover very well. So you can see them all kind of on the field, maybe helping out with the deficiencies at corner, which we did address. We're going to get into that. So I love this pick of Davis. It could free up Jamal a little bit more to do different things. It also hedges us as May is going to be a free agent after this year. And we have to pay Jamal Adams. So maybe if May's asking for too much money, we can't invest that much into the safety position. I love Marcus May. I want him to stay. I'd love for him to be a career Jet too. But if we pay Jamal big money and Davis pans out, may have to get cut loose. You can't keep everybody. That's the gift and pleasure of having a deep team, which Joe Douglas is starting to build. We don't have a deep team yet. But when you have a deep team and you got a lot of talent and you draft well, which I think he did this weekend, you're going to lose some good people because you can't keep everybody. But that's why hopefully these mid-round picks will just fill right in for us. So you go down to pick 79 in the 3rd round. This is our original 3rd round pick. And we picked Jabari Zuniga, defensive end from Florida. Now, edge rusher has definitely been a need of ours for a long time, since John Abraham pretty much. And something that I wanted us to address in the middle rounds. In a lot of my mocks, I actually had us using this exact pick on Jabari Zuniga's running mate in Jonathan Grenard, who went a few picks later to the Houston Texans. Zuniga, I can see why they went with him over Grenard. He was probably the higher upside guy coming into the year. Had some big potential. It could have came out last year. Wanted to go back to improve his draft stock. Unfortunately, only played about a little less than half the season and missed the rest of it due to injury. That's what kind of hampered his draft stock and put him in the 3rd round here. But definitely has the ability to be an impactful edge. He's very athletic and twitchy, so I like the pick. Again, a lot of these picks, there's reasons why these guys fell to us in the spots that they did. Joe Douglas was more looking at ability, talent, and attitude. You can see here on day 3, he picked 5 team captains. So building that locker room and building that camaraderie and building that atmosphere was something that he was striving with all his picks. That is an added bonus on these players for him, and he really values that. So we'll see what happens with Zuniga. He could be a great pick for us. Hopefully the injuries were just one-off things and not something that will continue to hamper him in the NFL. So round 4, day 3 comes, and here's where we go on the run of team captains. We start out with pick. Before I get to that, we did have 101 in that trade back in round 2. We traded that to the Patriots to get 2 4th-round picks, number 125, 129, and a 6th-round pick next year. So Joe Douglas, from trading down 11 spots in the 2nd round to still get the wide receiver all Jeff Fenn wanted at 48, got 2 4th-round picks this year and a 6th-round pick next year. That is how you trade down, and that is how you get value, which allows him to take some of these shots that some of the fans were maybe not as excited about. But when you're able to add that extra value, we always spoke about how Mike McCagnon would trade back and get no value. This was excellent value for the team. So let's hop right into this 4th round. I picked 120, LaMichael Perine, running back from Florida. I think that this was a very good pick. He is a workhorse. He is somebody who's going to come in and work really, really hard. He's kind of one of those good at everything, not great at anything type of players where he can do a little bit of everything. Doesn't really excel 100% in one area versus the other, which I think is very, very good for a complimentary back. Could I see Perine taking over as the number one back once Le'Veon Bell moves on, if that is after this year or after his contract? No, I don't see that. I see Perine as being that solid number 2 running back. I also see if Gase does stick around, if he does well this year and they keep him, I see Gase wanting to go to a running back by committee. It's kind of what he always did. So if Bell leaves, Perine would be a great candidate for one of those running back by committee spots. So I like to pick there. He's a great locker room guy. We don't have to worry about him. Round 4, pick 125. One of the picks from the trade back. James Morgan, quarterback, FIU. Now this is the pick that most Jet fans hate the most. If they had to pick one that they wanted to redo on, it was this pick. I kind of heard some rumblings before the draft that the Jets were interested in James Morgan, so it did not surprise me that we picked him. It may have surprised me that we picked him at 125. But there were quite a few teams. Reports came out that the Patriots, the Steelers, and there was at least one other team that was interested in James Morgan. He had a very, very good leading up to the draft. He interviewed extremely well, performed well at the combine. So he was rising up boards. He is somebody that has a big, big arm. He is from the Green Bay area, grew up idolizing Brett Favre. So great to see that he has a big arm, just like Brett Favre did. But I can see this as, I'm not as down on this pick as most. I can see this as a pick like the Patriots do. Let's get this guy in. First of all, we need a backup quarterback, so hopefully he can develop into a very solid backup quarterback. But why can't we be the team one time to develop a quarterback that shows out in the preseason, and then we flip him for a second-round pick, like the Patriots have done with Jimmy G, and even with, I can't think of his name, Jacoby Brissett over with the Colts. I don't remember exactly what they traded him for, but Jacoby Brissett was a 6th-round pick. They traded for like a 3rd-round pick or something like that. So why can't James Morgan be that for us? I can see the potential. Obviously, other teams were interested. So I'm not as upset. There was some other guys on the board I would have liked to have had. But I'm not gonna beat them up on this pick. So now we move to round four, pick 129, the second of the 2 4th-round picks we accumulated by trading down a second time with the Patriots, and we get Cameron Clark. They have him listed as an offensive tackle. It looks like he's going to bump down into guard from Charlotte. Didn't know much about him when he was first picked. Did some research. This guy is talented. He really showed out against Clemson, really the only game that he played against really, really high-end competition. And he held his own at left tackle and played an outstanding game. So you love to see that when they rise to the occasion playing against better competition. Because that's the one tough thing when you come from a school like Charlotte. You're not playing the greatest of competition. So they're like, yeah, you're dominating, but now you have like 2 or 3 levels that you're really going to be jumping to the NFL. But what he was able to show on film against Clemson was very, very impressive. Also, one of the things that was very unique, I don't know how much the Jets knew about this when they picked him or not, but Cameron Clark and Mekhi Becton met each other through the combine and just training leading up to the draft, and actually became friends. And Clark said this on an interview that they kept in touch after that, and they would talk quite a bit about training, getting ready for the draft. So it's great to see that they're already building that chemistry together, because I could see Cameron Clark competing for that left guard spot. And it could potentially be those two pairing together for the next decade. So it's great that they are building that friendship, that camaraderie together, because you need that. When you have that left tackle and that left guard, they have to trust each other, because they're going to be making calls up and down the line on how to switch off blocks and different things like that. You know, if you got if they're overloading on one side, Mekhi may have to punch the guy on his inside and drop him off to Cameron Clark while he takes the guy coming off the edge. So having that understanding of each other is going to be great. So hopefully they continue to work and build on that relationship, because I could see Clark competing with Lewis there at left guard. So round 5, pick 158, this could be our best value pick of the draft. Bryce Hall, cornerback from Virginia. Now this guy, extremely, extremely talented. He could have came out last year and would have probably been a 2nd or 3rd round pick. He wanted to go back to Virginia. He got hurt, broke his ankle, had surgery, missed missed a chunk of the season, and that's really what helped make him fall. He's a taller corner, I think 6'1", if I'm not mistaken, press man corner. The things that Greg Williams loves the most. I think his Pro Football Focus grade was like 92 or something along those lines. So very, very talented guy. Theme of the draft, as I've said a few times in this video, it's a what if, right? Injuries have been a concern with him throughout his career. Can we keep him healthy? Can he stay on the field? Because if he can stay healthy and get on the field, he could have easily been a second-round pick. Some people think that if he would have played the whole season and had a strong season, build on last year, he could have been even snuck into the first round. So this guy has all the talent in the world. He has the size and speed to play the position. So it's just a matter of can he stay healthy. Now pick 191 in the 6th round, Braden, Mann, punter from Texas A&M. This guy has a cannon for a leg. And anyone that said anything about him raved about this guy. McAfee loves him. Mel Kiper said he could be a perennial All-Pro. Some other people said top 5 punter in the league he can develop into. He's also going to take over kickoff duties for us as well. With that big leg, he has done kickoffs in the past. So now we really only need a place kicker. Braden Mann will take care of kickoffs and punts. This is huge for us because this is going to help us in the battle of field position. It really helps your offense and your defense when the team is stalling and in a funk. To be able to flip the field position can flip the momentum of the game. Because you flip the field position, defense gets a quick stop, and now the offense has a shorter field to work with, and you can get the momentum back on your side. As opposed to the punters that we've had in the past who are average at best. They can never really flip the field position, and now it's like we're backed up in our own end zone. We don't get a first down. We punt. The defense kind of makes a quick stop, or maybe the other team gets one first down, and then they punt and they pin us deep again. And now it's almost like you hope the team just gets a field goal so we can get out of our own end zone. But Braden Mann will help us to flip that field position. And then pick 211, we traded this one for Quincey Wilson, cornerback from the Colts. I guess we love Colts cornerbacks. This is the 3rd one we'll have on our team now. I wasn't too thrilled with this trade. I can see why they did it. We traded a 6th round pick for a guy who was drafted in the 2nd round just a few years ago, back in 2017. Injuries hampered him the last year, where he had a horrendous PFF grade of 30. I didn't even know the grades went that low. But I guess it's worth a shot. I would almost took a stab at somebody and had a rookie contract for 4 years, as opposed to this guy who's probably entering the last year of his contract. But hey, who knows? Guy might not even make the team, right? We have a lot of corners now that are going to be in this building competing. Somebody's not making the team, right? We brought back a few corners. We drafted one this year. We signed. We traded for him now. So definitely a lot of people there. I did want to go into 3 undrafted guys that we brought in as well before I gave out my grade. I know this is going long, but hey, we have quite a few picks here. Lamar Jackson, 6'2", cornerback from Nebraska. Somebody I actually had us mocked to draft in at least 1 or 2 of my mock drafts. He was projected to go 5th, 6th round. Surprised to see him go undrafted. Tall, lanky, got the size that Greg Williams loves. Will play physical with these receivers as well. It's a little surprised to see him drop to undrafted, but definitely has a shot to make this team. I'm glad we were able to bring him in. Another guy, the second guy I wanted to go into is Bryce Huff, edge rusher, outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme from Memphis. 6'3", 255, so prototypical size for that outside linebacker in the 3-4. Could really be somebody that could potentially make the team as a situational guy, special teamer. So I wanted to read this quote that I got from NFL.com. A defensive coach from the AFC, who knows, maybe it was one of our defensive coaches, was quoted as saying, "I saw a lot of potential with him. The scouts want all measurables to stack up, but if a guy is explosive and can drop that shoulder around the corner, I can make him a rusher." So that sounds like Greg Williams, but who knows who that actually is. So what that's really saying is, while he's got the nice size, 6'3", 255, he has shorter arms than people would like for an edge rusher. They say if he gets bigger, longer tackles, he can struggle to get off of them. But like this defensive coach said, that explosiveness, that dip of the shoulder around the corner, those things are very, very important, and not all people can do that. So worth it, undrafted free agent, see if he can make it. These are just some people that I want us to keep an eye on as we hopefully get into training camp. Hopefully this all clears up. And the last guy, probably the one I'm most excited about when it comes to undrafted free agents, is Lawrence Cager, 6'5" wide receiver from Georgia. And again, on NFL.com, you look at it, one of the pluses that I wanted to read was made every contested catch imaginable in 2019. So this guy's 6'5", right? He's got an 80-inch wingspan. And I watched some film on him as soon as I heard that we signed him to see who this was, because obviously the one thing I wish we would have had was another wide receiver in the draft. And man, this guy goes up and gets it. He really does. Again, another injury-riddled player, which is what made him drop to undrafted. Broke his ankle, had surgery. So ankle injury seems to be a theme, Bryce Hall and Lawrence Cager. But he had a torn ACL a few years back as well in his earlier years in college. So he was hoping to work out at his pro day. He did not work out at the combine. And that's probably what made him go undrafted. He did not get to showcase his abilities in the pro day. He was going to run, too, because he is healthy as of right now. From what I read before this year, he was around a 4.5 guy. So not the fastest, but not the slowest either. 4.5, I think, is more than enough speed when you're 6'5", and you got long arms like that, and you can really go up and get it. So this guy, I can see him potentially sneaking onto the roster as a fifth wide receiver, somebody maybe we bring in that red zone threat. Because you watch his film, and it's literally fades in the end zone. It's like 75% of the highlights. But hey, that's very, very important, man. He can be somebody that gives Gardner just that weapon, that post fade, right? That end zone pylon throw. That's very, very important, and everybody goes through down in the red zone, and not a lot of people can stop when you have somebody that's 6'5". So excited to watch him, see what he can do. Hopefully he can stay healthy, because that's really what's derailed his career. He was the number one target for Georgia this past year before he got hurt, and Fromm really struggled after Cager went down. So it'll be interesting to see if he can stay healthy and if he can find a way to make the team here. So my grade for this draft, I'm going to go as what I'm feeling. And as much as I love this draft, I'm going to go B+. The reason I'm going B+, and this can easily turn to an A+. Let me preface this by saying that. This can easily be an A+. I say B+ because we did take on a lot of risk in this draft. Becton, the rawest one of the tackles. Mims needs to work on the precision in his routes. Davis, not really a position of need, but can be an impact player. Zuniga, injury risk. Perine, not really RB1 potential. Morgan, luxury pick. Cameron Clark, smaller school. I'm very high on Bryce Hall, again, injury risk, right? So that's why I go with B+, because I can see if these injury risks and if we don't develop this raw talent, it can drop lower than that. But if these people hit the way I think they can, it can be an A+. So for right now, today, right after the draft ended, I'm giving a B+. I want to see these players. It has the potential to be probably one of the best drafts I've ever seen. So I'm very, very excited for it. I commend Joe Douglas for what he did. He helps solidify my opinions on the fact that he is the right GM for the job and the right GM to turn this franchise around. I believe in Joe Douglas until proven otherwise. That's why I'm a lot higher on Cameron Clark than I was before I even knew who he was before the draft. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What is your grade for the Jets? Who did you guys want? I know a few guys were named already. But and where do you guys think our biggest need still resides? So let me know that down in the comments below. And as always, Jet up.